Math Minute 68. Question number 1 says, what is the best estimate of the part of the rectangle that is shaded? So what I notice about the first part of this rectangle right here is that they drew a diagonal line through that first square. And so what I want to do is, I want to do the same thing to this second square so that they both look the same. And now I can look at this and say, okay, well, how many parts make up that entire rectangle? And so I can just number them off. So I got 1 here, I got 2 there, I got 3 there, and I got 4 there. So I got 4 equal parts that make up that rectangle, and the question was, what portion of that is shaded? Well, I can see that there's 1 shaded part of the rectangle, so we would say that 1/4 of this rectangle was shaded. So we're going to go with D on that one. Number 2 says, which of the following triangles below is isosceles? So first of all, we have to know what the definition of an isosceles triangle. And I'm going to go ahead and write that down. Isosceles, make sure I'm spelling this right, means that 2 sides are equal and 1 side is different. So now I'm just going to go over here and see which of these triangles meets that definition. So the first one, all the sides are the same. They each have a length of 3. And yesterday we learned that that's an equilateral triangle. So it's not that one. B, I noticed that 2 of the side lengths are 5, and then the other side length is 3. And that meets the definition of our isosceles triangle, and that 2 sides are equal and 1 is different. So we would say that B meets that definition. And then C, just for future reference, all sides are different on that one. So we would end up calling that a scalene triangle when all 3 sides are different. Number 3, we have 0.3 with a line over it. And they want to know which one of those fractions is equal to that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and divide all these and convert them into decimals and then see which one matches up. So the first one we're going to do 1 divided by 2. If I did that in my calculator, I would get 0.5. So that's not what I want. So then I go to the next one, 1 divided by 8. If I did that in my calculator, I'd get 0.125. So it's not that one. If I did 1, divided by 3 in my calculator, I would get 0.3 repeating. And when the number keeps repeating, we just put a line over it. That means it just keeps on going. So that matches up what we want, right? 1/3. And then if I just did answer D too, just so I know, I would do 1 divided by 4. And I would get 0.25. So 1/3 is equal to 0.3 repeating. Question 4 is a order of operations problem that we want to do what's inside the square root sign first before we find the square root. So I have 5 squared in there. So I have 5 squared, which equals 5 times 5. 5 times 5 is 25. And then we have 3 squared, which is 3 times 3, which is 9. And then I have to subtract them. So I'm going to go 25 minus 9. When I do that, I get 16. And then my last step is I need to find the square root of that. And remember, that means we're going to take some number times that same number, and we're going to get 16. And the only number that would work to do that would be 4. Because 4 times 4 is 16. So the square root of 5 squared minus 3 squared is going to be 4. Number 5, we're dealing with dividing a negative number and a positive number on this one. And in math, when we take a negative and we divide it by a positive, we always get a negative for an answer. So then I just ask myself, well, what's 12 divided by 2? And that's 6. So my answer is going to be negative 6. And if I go over to the next one, we actually just did the negative 12 divided by 2, and we got negative 6. But now I have to multiply that by negative 3. And in math, when we take a negative times a negative, that's always going to be a positive. So now I'm just thinking, okay, 6 times 3 is 18. So I'm going to get a positive 18 for an answer on that one. Number 6, we have 1/4 times some number equals 5. Now we've been talking a lot about when you look for a missing number, you're going to do the opposite of what it's showing. So right now it's showing multiplication, so I'm going to do the opposite of that. I'm going to do 5. The opposite of multiplication is division, divided by 1/4. Now, when we're dividing fractions, because 5 divided by 1/4, we want to change this to multiplication when we're working with fractions. So I'm actually going to change this to 5. And I'm going to change it to multiplication. And when I do that, I have to flip this fraction. So I'm going to go ahead and flip this. So then I'm going to have 4 over 1. It's going to look like that. Well, 4 over 1 is the same as 4. So I could just say, well, this is just 5 times 4. And 5 times 4 is 20. So that's going to be my missing number that goes in this box. So 1/4 times 20 would equal 5. Number 7, complete the empty boxes. So what they're showing us is that we're multiplying the numbers in the first column by a half to get the numbers in the second column. So to get this missing number here, I'm going to take 16 and I'm going to multiply that by 1/2. Now, just to make this easier for us and what we've been learning, 16 as a fraction can be written as 16 over 1. And I'm going to multiply that by 1/2. Now I know I can just go straight across here. So on top I have 16 times 1, which is 16. And then on the bottom I have 1 times 2, which is 2. And then if I do 16 divided by 2, I'm going to get 8. So that's going to go in that box. And then for the next one, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to do 30 times 1/2. And as a fraction, I can write 30 as 30 over 1 times 1/2. And I just go straight across. 30 times 1 is 30. 1 times 2 is 2. Then I just divide that. 30 divided by 2 is 15. So that's going to go in that box there. All right, for problems 8 through 10, we're going to use the information that they give us here when they say A is equal to -6, B is equal to -2. Or sorry, A is equal to +6, B is equal to -2, and C is equal to -4. So we're just going to plug in the numbers and then we're going to solve. So for number 8, I got A plus B plus C. Well, they said A is 6, B is -2, and C is -4. So I think what I want to do first on this one is I'm going to combine the negative numbers. So I'm going to do the -2 plus the -4. And when we add two negatives, we're going to get a negative for an answer. And then 2 plus 4 is 6. So that's going to give me -6. But then I have to go back and I have to add this other 6 here. So now I have -6 plus +6. Well, the rule in math is whenever you take a number and you add its opposite, you're always going to get 0. So -6 and +6 are opposites, and when we add them, we're going to get 0. Number 9, we have A times B times C. Remember when the letters are next to each other like that, and you don't see anything in between them, that means multiplication. So again, A is 6 times B, which is -2, times C, which is -4. So let's just break this down into the 6 times -2 first. In math, a positive number times a negative number is always going to be a negative. And then I do 6 times 2, and that's 12. So that's going to give me -12. But then we have to multiply this -4. A negative times a negative is going to be a positive. So then I'm just thinking, okay, 12 times 4 is 48. So it's going to be +48. And then the last one, I have A plus B divided by C. So we're going to go 6 plus -2 divided by -4. -2 divided by -4, a negative divided by a negative is going to give me a positive. So it's actually going to be +2/4. And I can simplify that fraction by dividing both of these by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 4 divided by 2 is 2. And I just go back and I add that 6. And 1/2 plus 6 would give me 6.5. So you guys can go ahead and turn that one in. And that completes Math Minute 68.